What if living longer didn't just mean, adding more years onto the end? What if it meant more healthy, more vibrant years? Imagine a future where age-related decline isn't this inevitable thing we just accept, but actually a challenge we can actively take on. Shifting our focus from, well, nearly surviving to truly thriving. Welcome to this deep dive. Our research team has pulled together the most impactful developments in longevity science from, believe it or not, just the past 7 days. And today, we're not just talking about extending life, that sheer number of years. No, we're laser focused on extending what we call healthspan, that crucial period of life lived in good health, full of vitality and free from debilitating disease. That's the goal, right? Our mission today is basically to unpack these cutting edge insights. We want to help you navigate this really exciting, but sometimes, let's be honest, overwhelming world of longevity science. It's about helping you separate the groundbreaking science from sensationalism, the hype, and understand what these discoveries truly mean for our collective future and, importantly, for you personally. Get ready for some surprising facts, and we definitely think quite a few aha moments along the way.
Exactly. And, when we look at the core challenge, the big demographic shift of the 21st century, it's becoming clearer and clearer that just adding years isn't really the main event anymore. The real imperative, the thing we need to focus on, is ensuring those added years are lived with health, with function, with vitality. What we've unfortunately seen developing, and our research team really highlighted this, is a significant health span lifespan gap.
A health span lifespan gap. Yeah, that phrase really lands. It's powerful and maybe a bit sobering, too. So while overall life expectancy has shot up over the last century, especially in high-income countries, you're saying those gains are actually slowing down. I was reading through our team's notes, and yeah, it said for generations born after 1939, hitting 100 years old is actually pretty unlikely without some, massive breakthroughs, which really underscores the urgency, doesn't it? To focus on interventions that improve the quality of life, not just the duration. We want vibrant decades, right? Not just more years of frailty.
Absolutely. And what's really illuminating, especially from this past week's developments, is how they perfectly illustrate these two very divergent paths that are unfolding right now in longevity science.
Yeah.
On one side, you've got the methodical, evidence-based path, the pursuit of functional longevity. Think, groundbreaking clinical trials, strategic biotech launches, really rigorous preclinical research. These are advancements built on solid scientific validation, painstakingly verified, peer-reviewed, the real deal.
Okay, the solid science path. But then you mentioned a second path.
Yeah, and then there's the other path. We've definitely seen a darker, more perilous side emerging. It's often fueled by, unchecked hype, a desire for quick fixes, and unfortunately, this can lead to pretty significant patient safety risks. And frankly, it does immense reputational damage to the entire field. The legitimate science, it's a real challenge for anyone trying to figure out what's real and what's, just noise.
Yeah, it muddies the waters, for sure.
Precisely. And understanding this distinction is absolutely crucial for you, for our listeners. Navigating this evolving landscape of health and aging, it requires real discernment. It allows you to make truly informed decisions about your own well-being. It's about knowing what's backed by robust science and what's still, maybe promising, maybe just speculation, or, like we'll discuss, potentially dangerous. It helps you know where to place your trust and, maybe more importantly, where to be really cautious.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's dive into some of the tangible progress, the stuff that offers, genuine hope. One of the most exciting areas our team flagged this week is this surprising connection between our gut and our brain, particularly looking at Alzheimer's disease. There's breakthrough research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging that seems to be fundamentally changing how we even view this connection.
What's fascinating here is this fundamental shift in perspective. Historically, Alzheimer's research, it's been very, very brain-centric, focused almost entirely on what's going wrong in the brain. But these researchers at the Buck Institute found something really unexpected. Specific antibody-producing B cells, immune cells, actually migrate all the way from the gut to the brain, at least in Alzheimer's mouse models.
From the gut to the brain, wow.
Exactly. And this is revolutionary because it suggests completely new therapeutic pathways along what we're now calling the gut-brain immune axis. It moves us beyond just brain-centered treatments and opens up this really profound possibility that simple, accessible dietary modifications could actually be key players.
Dietary modifications. Okay, now that's something incredibly accessible, something many people could potentially act on relatively quickly, right? So what specific dietary insights came out of this research, and what were the effects they saw?
Well, the findings were quite specific and, really exciting. They used a high-fiber diet, specifically with a prebiotic fiber called inulin. You can find it in things like chicory root, onions, garlic. And this diet was shown to successfully restore these beneficial gut B cell populations in the mice.
Okay, so fixing the gut B cells.
Right. And this restoration, in turn, significantly reduced Alzheimer's-related frailty symptoms. Things like tremors, which are common in advanced stages, really improved. But even more remarkably, this simple dietary change improved 31 distinct metrics of aging in these mice. 31.
31 metrics just from adding fiber. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. It points towards this accessible nutritional intervention that could potentially, prevent or maybe even reverse Alzheimer's progression. It really does shift the paradigm from just treating the brain to leveraging the power of the gut.
It really feels like a paradigm shift. So if we're now looking seriously at this gut-brain immune axis, what does this really mean for how we approach personalized dietary interventions for something as complex as Alzheimer's?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, it suggests that understanding an individual's unique gut microbiome, their specific immune response profile, could become like a cornerstone of personalized Alzheimer's prevention and treatment down the line. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, we might start seeing dietary recommendations tailored to someone's specific gut health, especially as we learn more about which fiber types, like inulin or maybe others, and which specific microbial communities have the biggest impact on these immune cells and ultimately brain health.
So personalized gut health plans for brain health.
Potentially, yes. But it does raise an important question. How precisely can we map these incredibly complex gut-brain interactions in humans?
Yeah.
That's the next step, right? Moving these fascinating findings from mice into clinical reality for people.
Yeah.
The challenge will be translating this accessible idea into broad clinical acceptance and practice, making sure people understand that, yes, your dietary fiber could actually be a key part of protecting your brain.
That discussion on the gut-brain axis is incredibly compelling. And speaking of accessible interventions, our deep dive this week also brought up some foundational science on something many of us might already have, like sitting in our medicine cabinet, vitamin D3, and its surprising connection to telomere attrition. Just a quick reminder for listeners. Telomeres are those protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes. Think of the plastic tips on shoelaces.
Oh, good analogy.
And their shortening, their attrition, is a fundamental hallmark of cellular aging. It's linked to a whole host of chronic diseases. So obviously, slowing this process down is a major goal in longevity research.
And this is where the rigor of good clinical research really shines. The Vital Telomere sub-study, which our research team analyzed, it's a landmark example. We're talking a large-scale, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial. That's the gold standard. It involved over 1,000 healthy older adults, and they followed them for 4 years. The robust design here is just crucial because it gives us a really high level of evidence. It sets a vital benchmark for research into supplements, which can sometimes be a bit, messy.
Absolutely. Rigor is key. So the results from such a well-designed trial, what did they actually find about vitamin D3 and telomere length?
The findings were pretty significant, yeah. Participants who took a daily dose of 2,000 international units, IU, of vitamin D3 experienced substantially less telomere shortening compared to the group taking a placebo. Specifically, over the 4 years, they preserved about 140 base pairs of their telomere sequence.
140 base pairs. What does that mean in practical terms?
Well, the study authors did a calculation. They figured this effect was equivalent to slowing down cellular biological aging by nearly 3 years.
Wow, 3 years from a daily supplement.
That's what the data suggests. And importantly, this protective effect was seen regardless of their baseline vitamin D levels, their age, sex, or BMI. And interestingly, this effect was not seen with omega-3 supplementation in the same trial, which really highlights vitamin D-specific action here. It wasn't just a general healthy supplement effect.
3 years of slowing cellular aging. That's a really powerful statement, especially for an intervention that's so widely available and, frankly, pretty low cost. What's the thinking on the mechanism behind this? How does vitamin D do that?
The key likely lies in vitamin D's well-established anti-inflammatory properties. We often talk about inflammaging in longevity circles, this chronic low-grade inflammation that drives aging.
Right.
That kind of inflammation is a major driver of telomere shortening and contributes significantly to many age-related diseases. So by effectively tamping down this systemic inflammation, vitamin D seems to be targeting a really fundamental pathway of aging.
Okay, so it's working via inflammation control.
That's the leading hypothesis, and it provides a powerful evidence-based rationale for a low-cost, accessible intervention. Now, with appropriate scientific caution, of course, more research is always good,
Hmm.
but this has immediate and significant implications for public health. It suggests that regular, adequate vitamin D supplementation could be a simple yet impactful strategy to support a core mechanism of biological aging.
That seems like a practical takeaway for many people, though obviously check with your doctor first about dosages and personal needs.
Always, absolutely crucial. Never just start high doses of supplements without advice.
Okay, so moving from accessible supplements to maybe more high-tech proactive solutions, our team looked into a new player targeting cardiovascular disease, Coursera Health. We all know atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, ASCVD, is still a leading cause of death and disability in aging populations around the world. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, it really is. And what's fascinating about Coursera Health's launch is that it signals this strategic and I think very welcome shift in biotech towards proactive, lifelong prevention, not just waiting for disease to happen. Our team highlighted compelling data from the Nature Legacy study. This was massive, involving nearly 370,000 individuals. And this study shows something truly remarkable. Starting interventions early and keeping them going so early, persistent lowering of LDL cholesterol and blood pressure is 2 to 3 times more effective than waiting and starting treatment later in life.
Wait, 2 to 3 times more effective just by starting earlier. That's not just a small benefit. That's a massive difference. That completely reframes how we should think about heart health, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes an undeniable, compelling case for front-loading prevention. Acting early makes a huge difference.
So what's Coursera's strategy then? How are they planning to capitalize on this insight and tackle ASCVD head on?
They've got a pretty sophisticated two-pronged approach. First, they've developed this proprietary causal AI platform they call Gluthealth.
Clotho Health, okay.
This platform uses advanced AI not just to predict an individual's lifetime ASCVD risk, but it goes a step further. It rigorously quantifies the potential health span extension, literally in years,
Yeah.
that could be gained from engaging in early sustained interventions.
So it actually puts a number on it. Like if you do X, Y, and Z starting now, you could potentially gain, say, 5 extra healthy years.
Exactly. And that's crucial because it provides this powerful, personalized motivator for healthy people to act before they develop symptoms. It makes the benefit tangible.
Yeah, that's a game changer for motivating behavior change. Knowing you could gain actual years of healthy life is way more compelling than just hearing lower your cholesterol.
Absolutely. And their second prong is the therapeutic itself. It's an innovative, once annual dual targeting RNA interference medicine, RNAi for short.
RNAi. Remind us quickly how that works.
Sure. RNAi therapeutics essentially work by silencing specific genes that contribute to disease. You're turning down the volume on harmful gene expression. This particular medicine is designed to simultaneously lower PCSK9, which is a key target for reducing LDL cholesterol, and angiotensinogen, or AGT, which is a key regulator of blood pressure.
So one shot, once a year, tackling both high cholesterol and high blood pressure drivers.
That's the goal. This dual-targeting RNAi medicine is actually set to enter clinical trials by the end of 2025.
This whole predict and prevent model, using AI to personalize the risk and the potential gains, combined with a powerful new therapeutic. It sounds like it could genuinely add decades of healthy, functional life for countless people. It could totally transform how we approach heart health.
Indeed. And if you connect this to the bigger picture of longevity, it's really a quintessential health span intervention. By aiming to stop that cumulative vascular damage before it ever really takes hold, Coursera's approach could fundamentally alter the trajectory of the world's most prevalent age-related disease. This integrated model, personalized prediction, plus a powerful, infrequent therapeutic community, it's likely a blueprint we'll see replicated for other major age-related conditions in the coming years. It really points towards a proactive rather than reactive medical future.
Okay, so transitioning from preventing disease to actively correcting it. Let's talk about gene editing. Our research team flagged compelling new data on exagamglogin autotemcel. That's a mouthful. Let's call it Exacacel.
Yeah, Exacacel is easier.
It's a revolutionary CRISPR-based gene therapy. And the key point here, as our team noted, is that the ultimate goal isn't just about tweaking biomarkers on a lab report. It's profoundly about improving actual quality of life.
Right. And this is such a powerful demonstration of how cutting-edge technology can directly translate into tangible, functional improvements for people suffering from severe, often life-limiting conditions. Exacacel is a one-time therapy designed for severe sickle cell disease and transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia. These are genetic conditions that cause immense suffering, frequent hospitalizations, and they just dramatically impact a patient's daily life.
And what's really striking here from the research notes is the focus on patient-reported outcomes. We saw studies published in Blood Advances that meticulously analyzed what the patients themselves experienced and reported, not just clinical markers.
Exactly. And the findings were just unequivocal. Patients reported robust, sustained, and clinically meaningful improvements across a really wide spectrum of quality of life domains. We're talking physical well-being, their social and family life, functional capacity, emotional well-being, huge improvements. And crucially, these were maintained for over 3 years post-treatment.
Oh, for 3 years.
Yeah. And we even saw anecdotal evidence cited in the studies where patients explicitly reported things like returning to school, returning to work, spending more quality time with their families, and dramatically less time stuck in hospitals. They were effectively reclaiming their lives.
That's the real-world impact that genuinely gives you chills, isn't it? People getting their lives back, not just managing symptoms. That's what Healthspan is all about.
This therapy corrects the root genetic cause, which is why the effects are so profound and lasting. It serves as a powerful proof of concept for how advanced gene editing can fundamentally enhance health span and functional capacity.
But these advanced therapies, Exactly included, while they're life-changing, they often come with incredible complexity and, let's face it, cost. What are the major hurdles we're facing in making such powerful treatments accessible to everyone who needs them, not just, a select few?
That's an absolutely critical question and honestly one of the biggest challenges for the field. While the scientific breakthrough is undeniable, the hurdles around access and equity are substantial. Gene therapies like Exaccel involve highly personalized cellular processing, complex manufacturing, specialized medical centers for administration. All of that leads to very, very high costs, often hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars per patient.
Millions, yeah.
So the hurdles include manufacturing scalability. Can we make enough of it? Having the specialized medical infrastructure required for delivery. And then there's the enormous financial burden on healthcare systems, insurers, and patients themselves. Ensuring equitable access is going to require really innovative payment models, maybe government subsidies, strong patient advocacy. Otherwise, these truly transformative therapies risk just exacerbating existing health disparities. They can become a privilege for the wealthy rather than a fundamental right for everyone suffering from these devastating diseases.
A really sobering point we need to keep wrestling with. Okay, shifting gears again, but staying on the cutting edge. This is where it gets really interesting, maybe even a bit sci-fi. The promise of cellular rejuvenation through partial epigenetic reprogramming. Our team noted remarkable preclinical data presented at the recent ARDD 2025 meeting. This technique aims to basically reset cells to a younger state by turning back the epigenetic clock using something called Yamanaka factors.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is the mechanism itself. It represents this fundamental shift in how we even think about aging. Yamanaka factors, they're named after the Nobel laureate Shinya Yamanaka who discovered them, are this specific cocktail of just 4 transcription factors. Think of them like master switches for genes. They act like a reset button for cells, but a partial reset. By modulating the epigenome, those chemical tags on DNA that tell genes what to do without changing the DNA sequence itself, they can essentially dial back a cell's biological age.
Dial back of the clock.
Right. Targeting a fundamental process of aging without completely wiping the cell's identity, which is crucial. For example, our team highlighted a gene therapy called ER300. In mice with metabolic liver disease, it significantly improved liver function markers. And another one, ER100, didn't just restore youthful DNA methylation patterns, a key epigenetic marker, but also showed clear signs of nerve regeneration in primate models of optic nerve damage. That's huge.
Nerve regeneration in primates. So it's not just about slowing aging, but potentially reversing cellular damage and restoring youthful function. Rewinding the cellular clock. That genuinely sounds like science fiction becoming reality. It's an incredible vision.
It is. Life Biosciences, the company leading this research, reports functional improvements in these animals. And ER100, the one for nerve damage, is actually expected to enter human trials in early 2026.
Human trials as early as 2026.
That's the projection, which could potentially make it the first partial reprogramming therapy tested in people. The promise here is immense, the potential to reverse and prevent multiple age-related diseases, as the researchers put it.
It's an incredible prospect. But, when we talk about making such fundamental changes to a cell, rewinding its clock, what are the most significant unknowns or potential risks? What are researchers meticulously watching out for before they put this into humans?
That's an absolutely crucial consideration. The primary concern is maintaining precise control over the reprogramming process. It's a delicate balance. You want to rewind the clock just enough to restore youthful function and resilience, but not so much that the cells lose their identity. You don't want a liver cell turning into something else. Or, even worse, becoming cancerous through uncontrolled proliferation. That's the big fear.
Right, the cancer risk.
Exactly. So researchers are meticulously studying the safety profile. They're looking very closely for any signs of tumorigenesis or other unintended changes in cell behavior. The dosage, the timing, the specific delivery methods for these Yamanaka factors, all of that is being optimized very carefully to achieve the therapeutic benefit without inducing harmful side effects. That's why the journey from these exciting preclinical results to human trials is exceptionally cautious and methodical. Safety first, always.
Makes sense. Okay, beyond reprogramming entire cells, our research team also uncovered some fascinating new metabolic pathway discoveries this week. For instance, there was some intriguing data on sex-specific rejuvenation.
Yes, this really highlights the growing understanding that aging isn't just one monolithic process. It can differ significantly between males and females. Researchers found that combining two treatments, specifically an ALK5 inhibitor plus the hormone oxytocin, which actually target opposing aging pathways, had remarkable effects. It reversed frailty and extended lifespan by a staggering 73% in old male mice.
73%.
73%. To put that in human terms, that's roughly equivalent to extending the life of a 75-year-old human quite dramatically.
Wow.
But what's particularly noteworthy, as you pointed out, is that the effects were much less pronounced in the female mice in the same study.
Huh. Interesting.
It really highlights significant sex differences in aging biology that absolutely need more investigation. It's a stark reminder that a one-size-fits-all approach to longevity probably isn't going to cut it. We need to understand these differences.
That's a huge lifespan extension in the male mice. And yeah, those sex-specific differences are truly fascinating. It underscores how much more we still have to learn. What else did our team find in the realm of metabolic regulators?
We also saw promising developments with NLRP3 inhibitors coming out of BioAge labs.
NLRP3, what's that?
So NLRP3 is a key component of the inflammasome. Think of it as part of our innate immune system's alarm system, but one that can become chronically overactive with age, driving inflammation. Inhibiting NLRP3 is showing promise for, get this, weight loss comparable to the GLP-1 agonist drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy that are making headlines along with broader benefits for overall metabolic health.
Weight loss comparable to GLP-1s, but by targeting inflammation?
That seems to be the pathway, yes. Phase 1 trials for this specific NLRP3 inhibitor program actually began back in August 2025, and they're expecting top-line data by the end of this year. So we should know more soon.
Okay, wait. You mentioned NLRP3 inhibitors showing promise for weight loss similar to GLP-1s. Can you briefly explain why targeting this inflammation pathway might offer different or maybe complementary benefits compared to the GLP-1s that are so prevalent right now, especially thinking about an aging population?
That's an excellent point. It gets to the core difference. GLP-1 agonists primarily work by affecting appetite signals in the brain and improving insulin secretion and sensitivity. They manage the downstream effects, you could say. NLRP3 inhibitors, on the other hand, are targeting chronic low-grade inflammation, that inflammaging we talked about, which is increasingly recognized as a fundamental driver of many age-related metabolic problems, including insulin resistance, fat accumulation, and overall metabolic dysfunction.
Ah, so it's more upstream, tackling a root cause.
Exactly. While GLP-1s are great at managing symptoms like high blood sugar and weight, NLRP3 inhibitors aim at this underlying inflammatory process that contributes to a whole range of chronic diseases, not just metabolic ones. So the idea is that this approach could offer a broader, more systemic improvement in metabolic health and potentially other age-related conditions driven by inflammation. It might be less about just weight loss and more about improving overall metabolic resilience, which is particularly attractive for older adults where inflammation is such a key factor in decline. It's about targeting fire, not just the smoke.
Fascinating. So, therapy is potentially on par with the blockbuster weight loss drugs, but working through inflammation and maybe offering broader anti-aging benefits. Definitely one to watch. What else on the metabolic front?
Well, shifting slightly, a meta-analysis encompassing 22 different experiments showed that L-deprenyl, a compound often used historically for Parkinson's disease, consistently extends lifespan across various mammalian species.
How?
Primarily by reducing oxidative stress. That's another one of those key hallmarks of aging, the damage caused by reactive oxygen species or free radicals. And then, maybe a bit more unexpectedly, our team flagged intriguing data showing that psilocybin, yes, the active compound in magic mushrooms, showed a 30% survival boost in older mice.
Psilocybin. Really?
Yeah, the suggestion there is potential neuroprotective effects that could be highly relevant for brain health and longevity, though obviously this is very early stage, in mice. But taken together, these discoveries really open new doors to understanding the complex interplay between metabolism, inflammation, oxidative stress, and even neurological health in the context of aging and longevity.
Okay, let's just take a breath here. We've covered a ton of ground, incredible discoveries from gut health affecting the brain, vitamin D and telomeres, AI predicting risk, gene editing fixing diseases, cellular reprogramming, new metabolic pathways. But how do we, as listeners, as people trying to make sense of all this, truly understand the journey, the path from a discovery in a lab, maybe in worms or mice, to something that's actually a validated therapy for humans? It's a long road, right? And it seems critical to differentiate between that early stage promise, which is exciting, and clinical reality, which is what we can actually rely on.
This distinction is absolutely paramount. It's not just academic hair splitting, it's crucial for navigating the longevity landscape responsibly and, importantly, safely. It helps you manage your expectations, evaluate the claims you hear, and there are a lot of claims out there. And, crucially, it helps you avoid falling for unproven interventions, things that might be ineffective, a waste of money, or, as we'll discuss more later, potentially really dangerous. It's really about discerning what's truly ready for prime time versus what's still exciting science but very much in its infancy.
Okay, so let's break that down. Let's look at the early stage promise first, that real excitement of foundational discovery. Our team highlighted fascinating work from researchers at the University of Copenhagen. They identified a gene that wasn't really characterized before, and they've called it OSR1.
Yeah, this is a really cool piece of basic biology. They found OSR1 acts as a significant regulator of the aging process itself. And quite strikingly, when they manipulated this gene, they could extend the lifespan of multiple model organisms, specifically fruit flies and nematodes or tiny worms,
How did it work?
by reducing oxidative stress, according to their findings. This kind of foundational work is vital because it opens up entirely new avenues for investigation into the fundamental biology of aging. It reveals previously unknown levers, new molecular targets that seem to control longevity, at least in these simpler organisms.
That sounds incredibly promising, extending lifespan in flies and worms just by tweaking one gene. Okay, so what does this mean for us, for humans? Can we expect like an OSR1 pill anytime soon, or is this still way off on the horizon?
Right, that's the key question. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, while it's absolutely groundbreaking basic science, we have to be really clear.
Uh-huh.
This is preclinical research in very simple organisms. The journey from identifying a pro-longevity gene in worms and flies to developing a safe and effective human therapeutic is exceptionally long, complex, and frankly, uncertain. It will require years, probably many years, of subsequent research just to validate its function and pathways in more complex mammalian models, like mice or rats.
Yeah.
Then you have to understand its intricate interactions within a whole organism. Does it have side effects? Then you have to design a therapeutic agent, a drug, maybe gene therapy, that can safely and effectively modulate its activity in humans.
And then the trials.
And then that agent would need to progress through multi-year, multi-phase clinical trials, phase 1 for safety, phase 2 for efficacy hints, phase 3 for large-scale confirmation to prove both its safety and its effectiveness. So yes, it's the exciting promise of a potential future therapeutic, maybe something for the 2030s or even beyond. Definitely not something we'll see next year.
That's a really important reality check. Managing expectations is key. Okay, so now let's flip to the other side. Clinical reality. The gold standard for human health, the stuff that's closer to impacting us today or in the very near future. You mentioned the vitamin D3 study earlier as a prime example, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The vital telomere study is exactly that, the pinnacle of evidence. A large-scale, randomized, placebo-controlled trial. This type of rigorous design directly informs clinical practice, or at least provides a very strong data-driven rationale for considering an intervention like vitamin D3 for telomere health that can impact a key mechanism of biological aging today. Even as, more replication studies are always good for establishing broad public health guidelines. It's the kind of robust evidence that can genuinely shift clinical recommendations over time.
And it's not just human trials leading the way in establishing this clinical reality. Our research team flagged another fascinating stepping stone this week, the Loyal Dog Trial. This is apparently the world's first large-scale longevity drug trial specifically in pet dogs, conducted by a veterinary biotech company called Loyal.
Yeah, this is a really crucial proof of concept, and it's gaining significant attention. The FDA, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, actually accepted this drug. It's an IGF-1 modulator. targeting a known aging pathway with the explicit goal of extending lifespan in a species, in dogs.
Wow, the FDA acknowledged lifespan extension as an endpoint. For
For
dogs.
dogs, yes, which is a big deal.
Mm.
Early data, particularly in large breed dogs, which tend to age faster and have shorter lifespans, showed promising results in slowing down age-related disease progression. This positive initial data led Loyal to expand the trial to an incredible 1,300 dogs. That makes it the largest veterinary clinical trial ever conducted for a longevity drug.
1,300 dogs, that's massive.
It is, and this is highly significant for eventually translating anti-aging therapies to humans. Why? Because dogs share many aging processes with us. They share our environment. They develop similar age-related diseases like cancer and arthritis. They're an excellent translational model, much better than mice in many respects.
So the thinking is if it works safely and effectively in dogs over several years, that really strengthens the case for trying similar approaches in humans. It provides invaluable real-world data in a complex mammal.
Precisely. It gives us crucial data on long-term safety, efficacy, optimal dosing, and potential side effects in a large genetically diverse mammalian population living in real-world conditions. It's a vital bridge between lab animals and human trials.
Okay, so what about human trials that are actually underway right now, aiming for that clinical reality?
Well, several pivotal human trials are in motion, aiming to move the needle on Healthspan. The big one many people follow is the TAME trial. That stands for Testing Metformin in Aging.
Ah, yes, metformin, the diabetes drug that might have anti-aging effects.
Exactly. TAME is currently recruiting older adults without diabetes to see if metformin can delay the onset of major chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, and cognitive decline.
The TAME trial is huge, right? And metformin is such a fascinating candidate given its long safety record and low cost. But what are the specific challenges of designing a trial for aging itself, since, as you said, aging isn't officially a disease? And what kind of functional outcomes are researchers really looking for that would truly convince us of its health span benefits?
That's a really perceptive question, and it gets right to the heart of a major regulatory and scientific hurdle. You're right, since aging isn't an SDA-recognized disease, trials can't explicitly aim to treat aging. Instead, they have to target a cluster of age-related diseases or functional declines as their primary endpoint. For TAME, the main outcome isn't just living longer, but a composite endpoint, the time, until someone develops any one of several major age-related diseases: cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia, or death.
So preventing the first major hit of aging, essentially.
Pretty much. But beyond just disease incidents, researchers are keenly looking for improvements in functional outcomes. Things like validated frailty scores measuring strength, endurance, mobility. They're looking at enhanced immune function markers, preserved cognitive performance over time, increased physical mobility and independence. These are the measurable, real-world benefits that would truly demonstrate health span extension. It's about showing that the intervention leads to more years lived free of disability with preserved independence and vitality. It's about building that robust case for preventing, not just treating, age-related decline across multiple systems.
And that focus on functional outcomes, not just disease labels or lifespan numbers, seems absolutely critical. It ensures we're aiming for adding good, functional years, not just more years. And TAME isn't the only one, right? There are trials for other promising compounds.
Yes, precisely. Our team is tracking ongoing human trials for senolytics. Those are the drugs designed to clear out senescent or zombie cells that accumulate with age and drive inflammation and dysfunction. And also trials for rapamycin and its analogs, which are immune-modulating compounds that have shown remarkable lifespan extension in animal models and target a key nutrient-sensing pathway involved in aging.
Senolytics and rapamycin.
And again, these trials are measuring improvements across a wide array of functional parameters: immune response to vaccines, muscle strength and physical performance, cognitive function, reduction in inflammatory markers, incidence of various age-related diseases. All of these are specifically focused on extending health span. The goal is more years free of debilitating disability with maintained energy and function. That's the clinical reality we're striving for.
Okay, let's move into the exciting world of technology now. It's so clear how tech is accelerating longevity research and helping us actually understand and measure these complex processes. Let's start with AI for drug discovery. This seems to be unlocking entirely new possibilities at a speed we've never seen before.
Absolutely. Beyond the traditional, often slow, sometimes serendipitous methods of drug discovery, artificial intelligence has proven to be an incredibly powerful ally. Our research team flagged fascinating work coming out of Scripps Research. They use an AI-based platform, basically sophisticated algorithms, to screen over 1.1 billion molecules for potential anti-aging effects.
1.1 billion molecules. That number is just staggering. It's almost impossible to comprehend. A human researcher could never do that in like 100 lifetimes.
Exactly. The scale is immense. And the results, they were remarkable. The AI successfully predicted several drug candidates that could potentially hit multiple aging targets at once. And here's the kicker. When they tested these AI predictions in the lab, 70% of the candidates actually extended lifespan in laboratory worms. 70%.
70% accuracy from the AI prediction. That's incredible validation.
It really is. And even more dramatically, one specific compound, identified solely by the AI-boosted worm lifespan by a colossal 74%.
Wow.
And importantly, the AI predicted it would work by targeting multiple aging pathways, simultaneously things related to dopamine, serotonin, histamine signaling.
Hmm.
This validated the AI's sophisticated ability not just to find a target, but to understand the complex network of aging and find interventions that address its systemic nature.
That's a huge boost in lifespan. And yeah, targeting multiple pathways at once seems crucial because we know aging isn't caused by just one thing. It's incredibly complex. So what's the broader impact here? How does this AI-driven approach change the game for geroscience, the study of aging?
It fundamentally changes the speed and efficiency. It dramatically accelerates the entire process. We're potentially talking about delivering viable candidate longevity drugs, or at least strong leads, in months instead of the years or even decades that traditional methods often take. The ability of AI to sift through vast chemical libraries, predict efficacy, suggest mechanisms, and even propose both repurposed existing drugs and completely novel compounds. It provides an incredibly rich starting point for developing new therapies. It allows researchers to explore chemical possibilities that were previously just inaccessible, leading to much more efficient and targeted discovery of new anti-aging interventions. It's a genuine paradigm shift in drug discovery for aging.
And AI isn't just finding the drugs, it's also powering these personalized health management platforms, acting like, your very own digital health coach guiding you. We touched on Coursera's Clotho Health earlier, using AI to predict cardiovascular risk.
Yes, Coursera's platform is a prime example. It uses causal AI, which tries to understand cause and effect, not just correlation to predict your lifetime ASCVD risk. But crucially, it then quantifies the potential health span benefits in years of taking early action. It creates this compelling, data-driven, highly personalized case for preventive action, motivating you to act long before any symptoms might appear. This kind of platform really empowers people with actionable insights tailored to their unique biology.
And our research team also looked at another one, Tolian Health's Brain Coach. This is an AI-powered mobile app specifically designed to improve brain health and lower the risk of neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's. How does that one work? What kind of personalized guidance does it offer?
So the Tolian AI engine is pretty clever. It's continuously ingesting and analyzing a vast, constantly growing body of scientific literature, research papers, medical studies, clinical trial results. It then translates this immense, complex knowledge base into personalized, actionable recommendations specifically for the user, focusing on brain health.
Okay, how does it personalize it?
It uses several features. There's a detailed personalized risk assessment based on questionnaires you fill out, plus it can integrate data from wearables like your smartwatch or fitness tracker. Then there's a conversational AI component like a chatbot or voice bot that can provide guidance, answer your questions about brain health, and explain the rationale behind recommendations. And finally, it offers practical, actionable planning tools, daily tips, customized dashboards showing your progress, and even weekly planners suggesting activities or habits to support brain function. It's designed to be this dynamic, intelligent companion, specifically for optimizing your brain health over the long term.
So these platforms like Clotho Health and Brain Coach, they're really bridging that gap between complicated scientific knowledge and individual behavior change. They're acting as these personalized health span navigators. It's like having a super informed, always-on health advisor right there in your pocket.
Exactly. And this model, this democratization of access to science-backed prevention strategies, is rapidly becoming a central pillar of consumer health technology and the whole longevity ecosystem. They empower individuals to make informed decisions about their health span in a proactive way, based on the latest science, continuously updated and tailored to them. It's moving health management from reactive to proactive, from generic advice to personalized guidance.
Now, to really see aging in action and understand if these interventions, whether it's diet, supplements, drugs, or lifestyle changes, are actually working, We need better ways to measure aging, better imaging, better biomarkers. Our team noted significant progress in refining these biomarkers of aging, often called aging clocks, to get quicker, more accurate readouts of someone's biological age as opposed to just their chronological age.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the level of sophistication that's now being employed. Researchers aren't just looking at one thing anymore, they're integrating multi-omics clocks,
Multiomics, meaning.
meaning they combine data from different biological layers. Genomics looking at DNA changes like methylation patterns, proteomics looking at the levels of thousands of proteins in the blood, metabolomics looking at small molecule metabolites. By combining all this data, they can create much more robust and sensitive clocks that can potentially detect even subtle anti-aging effects of an intervention within months, not the years it might take to see clinical changes.
Okay, so faster readouts on whether something is working.
Exactly. And new biomarkers are also being validated. Things beyond just molecules looking at inflammation markers, sure, but also functional measures like gait speed, grip strength, even patterns of mobility captured by wearables, things that predict long-term health span and functional independence. For instance, our team flagged a social engagement study that found a strong correlation between high levels of social activity and decelerated biological aging, as measured by these sophisticated blood biomarkers.
Wow, so you can actually measure the biological benefit of being socially connected using these clocks. That's powerful validation for lifestyle factors.
It really is. It gives objective weight to things we intuitively know are good for us. But what about actually seeing aging happen at the cellular level? Like those zombie cells, senescent cells we hear so much about, the ones that accumulate with age and spew out inflammatory signals.
Yeah, can we see those?
Well, now, maybe we can. Stanford University researchers made a truly groundbreaking advance here. They created a novel MRI contrast agent, something you inject before an MRI scan that actually makes senescent cells light up brightly on the scan.
Seriously? Like a zombie cell detector.
Pretty much. This specialized probe is designed to activate specifically in the presence of an enzyme called beta-galactosidase. This enzyme is super abundant in senescent cells, but largely absent from healthy dividing cells. So where you see the signal light up on the MRI, that's where you have a concentration of senescent cells.
Okay, that sounds absolutely transformative for both diagnosing problems and tracking treatments. What are the practical implications? What could this mean for clinicians and researchers?
The implications are enormous.
Right.
For clinicians, it could mean they could potentially identify individuals who have a high burden of senescent cells, maybe in specific organs like the joints for arthritis or the lungs. This could pinpoint who might benefit most from targeted therapies designed to clear these cells, things called senolytics.
So personalized senolytic therapy based on imaging.
Potentially, yes. And for researchers developing and testing senolytics, it's a complete game changer. Instead of having to wait months or even years to see if clearing senescent cells leads to an improvement in clinical symptoms or relying on indirect blood markers, they could directly see, using MRI scans before and after treatment, whether the senolytic drug has successfully cleared those target cells, and they could see it within weeks.
Weeks. That would speed things up massively.
Transformative is the right word. It allows for much faster optimization of dosing, timing, and selection of the best senolytic candidates. It gives us a direct window into the cellular processes of aging and the effects of interventions with unprecedented precision. It moves us much closer to directly measuring and validating biological age reduction in real time at the tissue level.
Wow. Okay. Now, as incredibly exciting and promising as all this progress is, the AI, the gene editing, the cellular rejuvenation, the imaging, we absolutely have to talk about the other side of the coin, the double-edged sword, the ethical and practical challenges that inevitably come with such rapid, powerful advancements. And our research team highlighted a truly sobering case study this week that serves as a critical, flashing red warning light. The RDFest incident.
Yes, this incident is a critical and frankly stark reminder of the very real perils lurking in the unregulated frontier of the longevity space. At RDFest 2025, which is a prominent conference known for promoting radical life extension, approaches a severe patient safety crisis unfolded. It tragically highlights the potential human cost when enthusiasm outpaces evidence and caution is thrown to the wind.
It sounds quite serious. What exactly happened? What were the consequences for the people involved?
The reports our team gathered are deeply disturbing. At least 2 women, one aged 38 and the other 51, were hospitalized in critical condition. They ended up in the ICU.
What happened to them?
They had received injections of unapproved and unregulated peptide concoctions at a booth at the conference. Not in a clinic, not by licensed medical professionals administering approved drugs, but at a conference booth. Their symptoms were severe and life-threatening. rapid tongue swelling, cutting off airways, acute respiratory distress, a frightening loss of muscle control. Both required mechanical ventilation to save their lives.
Oh my God, that's horrific.
It is, and reports indicated that Las Vegas police were notified, and potentially up to 7 attendees in total may have sought medical treatment after receiving injections at that same event. The substances involved appear to be peptides like BPC-157 and various thymosin variants compounds that circulate in the biohacking and anti-aging underground, but are not FDA-approved drugs for human use and have very limited rigorous human safety data, especially when injected as untested cocktails.
That's truly alarming and just profoundly concerning. It really shines a light on the desperate hope people have for these longevity breakthroughs and maybe how vulnerable that makes them. How easy it is for, well, bad actors or maybe even well-meaning but dangerously misguided individuals to exploit that hope.
Absolutely.
What are the core issues this terrible incident brings into sharp focus? What's critical for our listeners to understand here?
Well, the primary concern, number one, unequivocally, is patient safety and the absolute necessity of genuine informed consent. Administering substances with limited or no robust human safety data, especially injectables, in a non-clinical, uncontrolled setting like a conference hall, it poses completely unacceptable risks. Patients simply cannot give truly informed consent in such a situation. They don't know the real risks, the potential side effects, the drug interactions, the long-term consequences, because these things haven't been systematically studied.
Right, and the regulatory side.
This incident also starkly exposes significant regulatory gaps. Many of these compounds, peptides especially, exist in this kind of regulatory no man's land. They might be sold for research purposes only, but they end up on a gray market where they're promoted for human use with minimal oversight, completely bypassing the rigorous safety and efficacy trials required for approved medicines. This allows a dangerous situation to flourish.
And what about the wider impact, the damage this does to the legitimate scientific field?
That's the issue of reputational contagion, and it's incredibly damaging. These kinds of high-profile safety crises, they don't really distinguish in the public eye or in media headlines between legitimate, painstaking, evidence-based science and fringe providers operating way outside established medical practice. It unfortunately fuels public skepticism. It undermines the credibility of the entire field. It reinforces that old snake oil salesman narrative that legitimate scientists and researchers have worked for decades to overcome through rigorous work. This incident is a crucial, visceral warning about the dangers of unchecked hype and magical thinking. And it underscores, maybe more than anything else we've discussed, the absolute, non-negotiable importance of evidence-based approaches, rigorous safety protocols, and regulatory oversight in longevity science. You cannot shortcut safety.
A stark warning indeed. It makes that principle of first do no harm even more critical, doesn't it? And it reinforces the point that intervening in fundamental aging processes, even with legitimate science, inherently carries significant risks that need careful management.
Absolutely. The very power of these potential interventions, gene therapies, cellular reprogramming, demands extreme caution. You're tinkering with fundamental biology. Gene therapies like partial reprogramming, for example, as we touched on, must be meticulously controlled. You have to avoid unintended cellular changes, cells losing their proper function, or worse, developing into cancerous tumors. The goal is rejuvenation, not pathology.
Right.
Similarly, in drug trials for longevity compounds, the dose and timing are absolutely crucial. An anti-inflammatory dose of a drug that extends lifespan in mice might, if misused or incorrectly dosed in humans, cause dangerous immunosuppression, leaving people vulnerable to infections. Rigorous, long-term monitoring for all potential side effects, things like metabolic dysregulation, organ toxicity, immune changes, is absolutely essential, especially for preventative aging trials where you're treating ostensibly healthy individuals over long periods. The safety bar has to be incredibly high.
So the ethical mandate of first do no harm is paramount. Extending life or even health span should never come at the cost of prolonged sickness or introducing new unforeseen health risks.
Precisely. And the legitimate scientific community involved in longevity research is acutely aware of this. They know that even one significant misstep or safety crisis could set back public trust, regulatory pathways, and research funding by years, if not decades. That's why you see this meticulous, step-by-step approach to safety and efficacy that characterizes ethical scientific progress. It might seem slow sometimes, but it's necessary.
Another huge concern, though, even as these incredible breakthroughs emerge from legitimate science, is something our team flagged as the longevity divide. There's a very real risk that these advancements could just end up exacerbating existing health disparities.
This is a critical ethical, and societal consideration that we absolutely must address proactively, not just reactively after the fact. If only the wealthy can afford the most cutting-edge, effective treatments, expensive gene therapies, the newest generation of drugs, we risk dramatically widening the gap in health outcomes and lifespan between the rich and the poor. We could create a future where health and longevity become even more stratified by socioeconomic status than they already are today.
Yeah, you mentioned the GLP-1 drugs earlier.
Exactly. The current GLP-1 agonists, while they show real promise for healthy aging and metabolic benefits beyond just weight loss, are already exorbitantly expensive for many and often face supply shortages. They're a current example of this potential divide. It raises this fundamental question: how do we ensure these powerful advancements ultimately benefit all of humanity, not just a select privileged few? How do we achieve longevity equity?
So there's a really delicate balancing act needed here, isn't there? As we push the scientific boundaries, we absolutely have to consider the societal implications and strive for fairness.
Indeed. While these high-tech, often expensive solutions emerge, it's paramount that we continue to promote, research, and invest in low-cost, universally accessible interventions that we know work. Things like regular exercise, a healthy, balanced diet like the fiber we discussed, building strong social connections, managing stress, getting adequate sleep. These have profound, proven impacts on health span, and they're accessible to far more people globally.
Right, the foundations.
These foundational interventions are crucial pillars to support health span equity and avoid widening that longevity divide too drastically. Furthermore, thinking ahead, if and when specific longevity drugs are approved by regulators, policymakers are going to face immense pressure to ensure insurance coverage and develop equitable distribution strategies. And just one more point on ethics. For individuals participating in these trials, the informed consent process must be crystal clear. It needs to clarify that the interventions aim to extend health span years of healthy function, not guarantee literal immortality or cure every single illness. Managing expectations realistically and ethically is vital.
And then there's that big underlying regulatory hurdle that influences so much of this discussion, actually defining aging itself. You mentioned regulators like the FDA don't officially classify aging as a disease.
Correct. And this remains a significant practical and honestly philosophical challenge for the entire field. It means that clinical trials, like the TAME trial for metformin, cannot directly target aging as their primary indication or disease endpoint. Instead, researchers have to focus on these proxy conditions like preventing a composite of major age-related diseases, heart disease, cancer, dementia, or improving specific functional markers of health span, frailty, mobility, cognition.
It seems like a workaround almost.
It is, in a way. Now, there's a debate around this. Some bioethicists express concern about medicalizing aging, turning a natural biological process into a disease to be treated, potentially leading to overtreatment or societal pressure to combat aging. However, many gerontologists and researchers in the field argue that if we develop safe and effective means to reduce the widespread suffering and disability caused by multiple age-related pathologies simultaneously, then not using those means would arguably be unethical. It's a complex debate with really strong arguments on both sides.
Is there any movement on this front? Is the regulatory stance likely to change, or are we probably stuck in this proxy condition paradigm for the foreseeable future?
We are actually seeing growing momentum for change, albeit slowly. Our research team notes increasing support both within some regulatory discussions and certainly within the scientific community to accept validated surrogate markers of aging in clinical trials.
Surrogate markers, like those aging clocks?
Exactly. Things like epigenetic clocks or specific panels of inflammatory markers or maybe functional composites. If these can be robustly validated to predict long-term health outcomes, using them as trial endpoints could significantly speed up the approval process for genuine anti-aging or health span promoting therapies. It would allow researchers to measure the effects of an intervention more directly and quickly, rather than waiting decades for enough people in a trial to develop a specific disease.
That would be a big shift.
It would. However, the broader ethical dimension, thinking really long-term, about intergenerational effects, that remains a crucial part of the ongoing discourse. How might significantly extended healthy lifespans impact things like resource allocation between generations, retirement systems, social structures, even family dynamics? These are complex societal puzzles we'll need to grapple with collectively as the science continues to advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so after navigating all this incredible, groundbreaking science and also Carefully considering these profound and sometimes sobering challenges, let's look ahead. Let's try to synthesize. What does the near-term trajectory say the next 1 to 3 years look like for health span research and maybe actionable insights for people?
Okay, near term, 1 to 3 years. I think we can realistically anticipate a surge in rigorous clinical trials focusing on repurposed drugs. Definitely more data coming on metformin, possibly rapamycin analogs. Also, more well-designed trials on specific nutrients, like we saw with vitamin D, and targeted lifestyle modifications based on biomarker feedback. We'll also see a significant expansion of that predict and prevent model. Think Coursera Health, but extending beyond just cardiology into other major age-related disease areas like oncology risk prediction or early neurodegeneration risk assessment using AI. And crucially, as we mentioned, we expect to see a wave of important first-in-human trials launching for interventions that have shown strong, convincing success in animal models. Things like the partial reprogramming gene therapy, targeting specific tissues, which could indeed see initial human safety trials starting around 2026. So this near-term period, it's really about solidifying the evidence base for accessible, potentially impactful interventions and taking those first cautious steps into humans with the more revolutionary approaches.
That's a lot of exciting progress to look forward to in a relatively short time frame, with that strong emphasis on clinical validation. Okay, what about the midterm outlook? Looking out maybe 3 to 7 years from now, how might our daily lives start to be impacted more directly?
All right, midterm, 3 to 7 years. I think this phase will be characterized by the maturation and much wider adoption of those sophisticated AI-driven platforms for personal health management. Your Tolly and Brain Coach type apps will become much more powerful, much more integrated. They'll likely evolve into highly personalized dynamic health span plans that continuously adapt based on your incoming data from wearables, maybe occasional biomarker tests, your reported lifestyle.
More personalized and dynamic?
Yes, and we'll likely see the integration of multi-omic data, your personal genomics, proteomics, metabolomics profiles, combined with that real-time wearable data to create incredibly detailed digital twins of your biology.
Digital twins.
Yeah.
Explain that a bit more.
Imagine a virtual replica of your body's key systems built from all your personal health data. This digital twin could allow doctors, or even AI itself, to simulate the potential effects of different interventions, a new diet, a supplement, a medication, before you actually try it in your physical body. It allows for optimizing and personalizing interventions with unprecedented precision.
Wow. Simulating interventions on your digital self first. That's straight out of science fiction becoming engineering reality. That offers a level of personalized health management we can barely conceive of today.
It's a powerful concept. And during this midterm period, we'll also likely see the first generation of some of these advanced preventative therapies gaining regulatory approval and moving into wider clinical use. Things like prophylactic RNAi medicines, like Coursera's, or maybe the first approved highly targeted gene editing therapies, aimed not just at rare diseases, but at preventing common chronic diseases, or significantly improving quality of life in aging populations.
Okay, so preventative RNAi and gene editing possibly becoming available. And then looking even further out, the long-term vision, 7 years and beyond. What's the ultimate goal for targeting the fundamental hallmarks of aging itself?
The long-term vision, really the ultimate goal of legitimate longevity science, is to move beyond just managing or preventing individual diseases, and instead to directly target the fundamental biological processes of aging itself, to address the root causes. Those foundational discoveries we talked about, like the OSR1 gene, even if they're preclinical now, they will eventually lead to entirely new drug development programs. These programs will be specifically designed to modulate the core hallmarks of aging, things like mitochondrial dysfunction, clearing cellular senescence reliably, correcting epigenetic alterations across tissues, improving stem cell function.
So hitting the core aging processes directly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This represents a significant paradigm shift, moving from reactive disease management towards true systemic rejuvenation. Developing therapies designed not just to keep you from getting sick, but to actually improve the health, resilience, and youthful function of the entire organism. The goal is to make us biologically younger, more robust, not just less sick on paper. That's the long-term aspiration.
Wow. So let's try and wrap this up. What does all of this mean for you listening right now? We've navigated this incredibly exciting, sometimes complex, and yes, sometimes perilous world of longevity science today. We've explored everything from gut bacteria influencing brain health and vitamin D's surprising power over our cellular clocks, all the way to AI discovering new drugs in months, and those stark, crucial warnings from the unregulated fringe that remind us of the dangers out there.
I think what's become really clear from all the research our team pulled together is that aging is increasingly being viewed as malleable. It's not this untouchable fixed destiny anymore. It's a biological process that we're beginning to understand and, crucially, beginning to influence. Now, literal immortality. That probably remains firmly in the realm of science fiction. Let's be realistic. But the next decade genuinely promises measurable, tangible increases in healthy, independent life in Healthspan for the average person. We're steadily moving towards a future where living a longer, healthier life isn't just a dream, but a scientific pursuit with concrete and accelerating progress.
Imagine that future. Imagine enjoying your 80s, your 90s with the kind of vigor and engagement that maybe we once only expected in our 60s. Traveling, learning new things, playing with grandchildren or great grandchildren, contributing to your community, free from the heavy burden of chronic disease. That's a future worth investing in, personally and collectively. And it's a future that, based on the science we're seeing, is becoming increasingly within reach. So, for you, our listener, as we close out this deep dive, here's a provocative thought to maybe mull over this week. Guided by some of the evidence based insights we discussed today, what single, small, manageable change could you make in your life starting today to consciously invest in your own future health span? If you found this deep dive valuable, if it sparked some thoughts or questions, please do us a favor and hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the deep dive and definitely turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next exploration into the frontiers of knowledge. If you're listening on a podcast app, leaving us a rating and a quick review truly helps other people discover these important conversations about our future. And as always, we really want to hear from you. What stood out most for you in today's discussion? What questions does all this raise for you personally? Share your thoughts and comments below wherever you're tuning in. We genuinely love hearing your perspectives and engaging with your ideas.